Hello all, myself Jason Elias. Our topic is wasteland development, and I will be dealing with the introduction to this topic, and I will just give you a slight introduction to this topic. Then there is Maria Matthew on topic integrated wasteland development program and processes. Then Vishnu Masani will be dealing with the watershed development program and its processes. More details on wastelands, its causes, consequences, and classifications are explained in the later session by Shruti Sujesh. Case studies on this topic will be done by Aishwarya Shivakumar, and finally Radhika Krishna will be dealing with the integrated wasteland development project, schemes, its objectives, and a conclusion. First of all, we should make a look into the what is lands and what is degraded wastelands. Land is a ubiquitous resource which is primarily providing the requirements of the basic elements of the life support system of our planet. As the demand of the escalating population is increasing, the tendency to overexploit this pristine resource is robbed of its legendary resilience. As a key provider of food, water, shelter, and employment, the land, especially the productive land, is subjected to coerce with a tremendous pressure, which makes it to turn into wastelands. In order to increase biomass production and to restore the environmental health, preventive and curative measures need to be employed for rehabilitation of wastelands or degraded lands. The wastelands, which are underutilized or unutilized and have potential to produce food grains and provide vegetation cover, may significantly contribute in this endeavor. Information on the nature, extent, severity, and dynamics of degradation is vital in this endeavor. We use the word land to include all the characteristics and qualities of the earth, of what is popularly known as land. We do not limit it to soil, and our concern is not merely with agriculture. Land may take many physical forms such as plains, swamps, hills, mountains, or valleys, and it may have many kinds of vegetation such as forest, prairie, or tundra, and it may also have one of many kinds of climate, from hot to cold or from humid to dry. It may also vary in numerous other ways. Space would not permit even a modest listing of the numerous kinds of land in the physical sense, and our concern is more with its economic and social aspects. Land is useful to man in many ways, such as a resource of food, or for wood for many purposes, for hunting, as a place to play, or as a place to live, or as a place to work. The uses of land are as many and varied as the whole range of human culture. Then we can go through wastelands. Wastelands refer to degraded lands that are currently underutilized and are deteriorating for the lack of appropriate soil and water management on or account of natural causes. Wastelands develop naturally or due to influence of environmental, chemical, and physical properties of the soil or management constraints. Degraded wastelands means those areas with low carbon stocks. These areas typically have minimal tree cover and an absence of peat, so they do not contain or sequester as much carbon as natural forests do. Land is considered degraded when its productivity is diminished. These are those lands which are presently lying unused, as which is not being used to its optimum potential due to certain constraints. Wastelands are ecologically unstable lands which are low in productivity and severely affected by soil erosions, stress conditions, and hostile environmental conditions. One-sixth of India's land is either barren or overgrown with vegetation that has turned wild. These lands are called wastelands, which are economically unproductive, ecologically unsuitable, and subject to environmental deterioration. These areas can be abandoned mine lands, mine tailing disposal sites, deforested areas, overgrazing land, and barren lands. Poor land use practices resulted in loss of soil quality and land productivity. It is estimated that biomass production in wasteland reduced by 80% of its actual potential. To restore the productivity and functions of the wastelands, it is important to restore its vegetation and soil cover similar to pre-disturbance conditions. The non-technical definition of wastelands from the Cambridge Advanced Learners Dictionary is An empty area of land, especially in or near a city, which is not used to grow crops or built on, or used in any way and or a place, time or situation containing nothing positive or productive, or completely without a particular quality or activity. According to the Integrated Wasteland Development Program, wasteland is a degraded land which can be brought under vegetative cover with reasonable effort and which is currently underutilized, and land which is deteriorating for lack of appropriate water and soil management on or account of natural causes. If we come through the causes for land degradation is a process in which the value of the biophysical environment is affected by the combination of human induced processes acting upon the land. The major causes which lead to the land degradation are land clearances such as clear cutting and deforestation, agricultural depletion of soil nutrients through poor farming practices. The next one is livestock, including overgrazing and overdrafting, then salination, then excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides, then next one is soil erosion, then desertification and landslides. These are a few among the causes which leads to the degradation of the land. Wastelands in India developed due to these causes can be classified as gullied or ravenous land, then upland with or without scrub, then waterlogged and marshy land, then land affected by salinity or alkalinity in coastal or inland, then shifting cultivation area, underutilized or degraded notified wasteland. Next one is degraded pastures or grazing land, then sands deserted or coastal. Next one is mining or industrial wastelands, then barren rocky or stony waste or sheet rocky areas, then steep sloping areas, then snow covered land or glacial areas. Then next one is degraded land under plantation crops. The major outcomes of land degradation are: first one is decline in the usefulness of land, then decline in the productive capacity of the land, that may be temporary or permanent, then loss of biodiversity. Next one is increased vulnerability of the environment or people to destruction of crisis. Then accelerated soil erosion by wind or water. The next one is soil alkalization owing to irrigation with water containing sodium bicarbonate. Then soil salination, then destruction of soil structure including loss of organic matter, then weather extremes, poverty, acute and chronic medical illness, famine, etc. are the major effects of land degradation. That's all from me, and the points that I have discussed so far will be explained in detail in the coming sessions. Thank you.
In this section, we are discussed on the topic Integrated Wasteland Development Program. The Integrated Wasteland Development Project scheme tries to develop non-forest wastelands on village or micro-watershed basis. The scheme also helps generate employment in rural areas besides enhancing people's participation in wasteland development, leading to equitable sharing of benefits and sustainable development. Watershed development approach has been adopted for all area development programs. This approach has also been adopted for implementation of this scheme. Integrated wasteland development based on village or micro watershed plans is taken up after taking into consideration the local capabilities, site condition and local needs of the people. Now let's look into the historical background of this program. India shares 16% of the world population while its land is only 2% of the total geographical area of the world. Naturally, the pressure on the land is often beyond its carrying capacity. Therefore, the productive lands, especially the farmlands in the India, are in the constant process of various degrees of degradation and are fast turning into wastelands. At present, approximately 68.35 million hectares area of the land is lying as wastelands in India. Out of these lands, approximately 50% lands are such non-forest lands which can be made fertile again if treated properly. It was unprotected non-forest lands which suffered the maximum degradation mainly due to the tremendous biotic pressure on it. In the last 15 years, it is India's lush green village forest and woodlots have been deforested to the maximum. It is precisely to restore this ecological imbalance by developing the degraded non-forest wastelands. Government of India had created the Department of Wasteland Development during July 1992 under the Ministry of Rural Development. which has been subsequently recognized and renamed the Department of Land Resources with a broader mandate. National Wasteland Development Board was established in 1985 under the Ministry of Forest and Environment, mainly to tackle the problem of degradation of lands, restoration of ecology, and to meet the growing demands of fuel, wood, and fodder at the national level. During the seventh five-year plan, the strategy adopted by the National Wasteland Development Board emphasized more on the tree planting activities rather than community participation for wasteland development. In the year 1992, the new department under the Ministry of Rural Development was created and the National Wasteland Development Board was placed under it. The board was reconstituted in August 1992 and was made responsible for mainly development of wastelands in non-forest areas in totality by involving local people at every stage of development. It aims at creating a scenario where the government acts as a facilitator and the people at the grassroots level become the real executionaries of the program. Major program implemented for improving the productivity of waste and degraded lands, keeping in view of poverty, backwardness, gender and equity, is integrated wasteland development program. Then let's look into what are the objectives of this program. The basic purpose of the program is to develop wastelands or degraded lands in the country in an integrated manner based on village or micro watershed treatment plans. Specifically, the program aims at fulfilling the objectives such as the first one, developing wastelands or degraded lands on watershed basis, keeping in view the capability of land, site condition, and local needs. Secondly, promoting the overall economic development and improving the socio-economic condition of the resource poor and disadvantaged sections inhabiting the program areas. And thirdly, restoring ecological balance by harnessing, conserving, and developing natural resources, that is, land, water, vegetative cover. And fourthly, encouraging village community. And also, finally, employment generation, poverty alleviation, community empowerment, and development of human and other economic resources of the village. Then, when we look into the scope of this project, watershed development approach has been adopted for all area development programs. This approach has also been adopted for implementation of this scheme. Degraded wasteland development based on village or micro watershed plans is taken up after taking into consideration the local capabilities, site condition, and local needs of the people. Then we are looking to the institutional framework for implementation. We see that for the implementation of projects under IWDP, there is an elaborate and well-defined institutional structure covering various levels. The first level is national level. The Department of Land Resources, the Ministry of Rural Development, the Government of India, New Delhi, the nodal agency at the national level responsible for getting the program implemented. The department is responsible for evolving policies for smooth implementation of the program, its funding, monitoring its process, and evaluating the overall impact of the program in relation to its objectives. The department also plays an advisory role insofar as assisting the state governments and district administration in the smooth implementation of the program. And the next level is state level. Normally, the Department of Rural Development is the nodal agency responsible for the implementation of IWDP at the state level also. The state level nodal department acts as an intermediary between the central government and the districts insofar as the implementation of IWDP is concerned. It is responsible for program policy implementation, advising, assisting, and guiding the districts, and for monitoring, reviewing, and evaluating progress of implementation in the state. It is also responsible for assessing the training requirements of all the states or districts functionaries involved in the implementation of the program, and then for coordinating the organization of the required training activities. The next level is district level. The Zilla Parishad or the District Rural Development Agency, as the case may be, is the nodal agency at the district level for the implementation of the program. In the state where the Zilla Parishad have yet to come into operation with adequate powers and resources as envisaged under the Panchayati Raj legislations, and so have yet to acquire technical capacity in watershed development. DRDAs have been designated to supervise the implementation of IWDP. The district nodal agency works under the supervision and guidance of the state and central governments and is responsible for the selection and appointment of suitable implementing organization, approval of the action plans or watershed treatment plans in the district and for reviewing, monitoring and evaluating the progress of the implementation of the IWDP projects. The agency is also responsible for arranging the requisite training program for the functionaries involved in watershed development in the district, including district officials, project implementary agencies, and watershed development team members. The next level is watershed or village level. At the field level, IWDP projects are implemented by the Gram Panchayats concerned under the overall supervision and guidance of the WDT. All works executed by the Gram Panchayats should have the final approval of the Gram Sabha, which exercise overall control of the functioning of the Gram Panchayat. If necessary, the Gram Panchayat may get specific project works involving a higher degree of technical competence executed by outside agencies like the government technical departments, non-governmental organizations, etc. Uh, then, uh, then let's take into the procedure of the sanctioning of the projects. Procedure for sanction of projects under IWDP in a financial year. The Department of Land Resources, in consultation with the state governments, first priorities the districts for the purpose. In doing so, several factors are concerned. They are the first one is preference is given to the district, that is first one have a large area of wastelands, and second one is have not been sanctioned any watershed projects earlier or do not have any ongoing projects. The next one is these districts which reflect a high degree of backwardness and incidence of poverty and are considered on priority basis. The next one is we are looking for flow of funds. For sanctioned projects, the central shares of funds is released directly to the districts, that is Sila Parishad or DRDS, where the projects are under implementation in 5 installments over a period of 5 years. The state government concerned are also required to release their share of the project cost to the districts soon after the central releases. Funds are received by the Sila Parishad or DRDS are further released to the PIA, that is administrative and training components, and the Gram Panchayat, that is administrative and working components within 15 days. Then for a successful implementation of a watershed project is expected to considerably enhance the economic condition of the project area in terms of the productivity of land and overall availability of agriculture, horticulture, forest and other related products. This improved situation requires that efficient backward and forward linkages for the provision of inputs for the production, storage and sale of the final products are in place. It also requires that suitable production post-harvest technology in the project area is made available. The requisite infrastructure facilities are provided, and other social inputs like health, sanitation, education, etc. are easily accessible to the local people. With these requirements in view, emphasis is placed on the convergence of all the relevant development schemes and activities in IWDP projects areas. They should form part of the district development plan along with the watershed development plan. It is all about integrated wasteland development program, its historical background, the objectives of this program, institutional framework for its implementation, procedure for the sanctioning of the projects, and flow of funds. In the coming session, we get a clear idea about watershed development uh, and its process. Thank you.
Watershed development. Watershed is a geohydrological unit draining to a common point by a system of drains. Watershed development refers to the conservation, regeneration, and the judicious use of all the natural resources, particularly land, water, vegetation, and animals and human development within the watershed. All land-based productive activities are dependent on the topography of the area, soil type, available biomass, and water, and call for adopting an integrated management approach which can be better evolved within a natural domain such as the watershed. This is because a watershed is an intricate, dynamic, and natural functional unit established by physical relationships and social communication and actions. Thus, watershed as a unit enables planners and implementing agency to consider all inputs, processes, and expected outputs systematically, which are essential for a holistic development approach. Guiding principles: equity and gender sensitivity. Watershed development projects should be considered as levers of inclusiveness. Project implementing agencies must facilitate the equity process, such as enhanced livelihood opportunities for the poor through investments in their assets and improvements in productivity and income. Decentralization. Project management would improve with decentralization, delegation, and professionalism. Empowered committees with delegation to rationalize the policies, continuity in administrative support, and timely release of funds are the other instruments for effective decentralization. Facilitating agencies. Competent organizations, including voluntary organizations with professional teams having necessary skills and expertise, would be selected through a rigorous process and may be provided financial support to perform specific functions. Centrality of community participation. Involvement of primary stakeholders is at the center of planning, budgeting, implementation, and management of watershed projects. Community organizations may be closely associated with and accountable to Gram Sabhas in project activities. Capacity building and technology inputs. Considerable stress would be given on capacity building as a crucial component for achieving the desired results. This would be a continuous process enabling functionaries to enhance their knowledge and skills and develop the correct orientation and perspectives, thereby becoming more effective in performing their roles and responsibilities. Monitoring, evaluation, and learning. A participatory, outcome and impact oriented and user focused monitoring, evaluation, and learning system would be put in place to obtain feedback and undertake improvements in planning, project design, and implementation. Organizational restructuring, enabling appropriate technical and professional support structures at national, state, district, and project levels, and developing effective functional partnerships among project authorities, implementing agencies, and support organizations would play a vital role. Institutional arrangements at national, state, and district levels. Role of National Rainfed Area Authority. National Rainfed Area Authority would inter alia be responsible for supporting the process of preparing strategic plans for watershed based development projects at the state and district level, keeping in view specific agroclimatic and socio-economic conditions. Assisting in the preparation of state specific technical manuals for the multidisciplinary and integrated approach required for implementation of these projects together with the standards and specifications, etc. Supporting state level nodal agencies in identifying resources, organizations, and establishing capacity building arrangements. Facilitating action research relevant to watershed development program in different agroclimatic regions. Conducting studies, evaluation, and impact assessment from time to time so that the benefits of these are available for improving the quality of watershed management projects. Facilitating convergence of different schemes and projects of Government of India which are having similar objectives. Accessing additional funds from other sources including private sector, foreign funding agency, etc. Acting as an effective coordinating mechanism between all bodies, organizations, agencies, departments, ministries, etc., who are involved in watershed programs. Organizing regional and international conferences, seminars and workshops, study tours, and information sharing. Providing technical knowledge, inputs, and expertise. Such other activities as may be decided by the governing body of NRAA or the government from time to time. Role of District Watershed Development Unit. The functions of District Watershed Development Unit will be as follows. Identify potential project implementing agencies in consultation with state level nodal agency as per the empanelment process as decided by the respective state governments. Take up the overall responsibility of facilitating the preparation of strategic and annual action plans for watershed development projects in respective districts. Providing professional technical support to project implementing agencies in planning and execution of watershed development projects. Develop action plans for capacity building with close involvement of resource organizations to execute the capacity building action plans. Carry out regular monitoring, evaluation, and learning. Ensure smooth flow of funds to watershed development projects. Ensure timely submission of required documents to state level nodal agency or nodal agency of the Department of Central level. Facilitate coordination with relevant programs of agriculture, horticulture, rural development, animal husbandry, etc. with watershed development projects for enhancement of productivity and livelihoods. Integrate watershed development projects or plans into district plans of the district planning committees. Establish and maintain the district level data cell and link it to the state level and national level data center. Watershed Development Team. The Watershed Development Team is an integral part of the project implementing agencies and will be set up by the PIAs itself. Each watershed development team should have at least 4 members broadly with knowledge and experience in agriculture, soil science, water management, social mobilization, and institutional building. At least one of the watershed development team members should be a woman. The watershed development team members should preferably have a professional degree. However, the qualification can be relaxed by the district watershed development unit with the approval of the state level nodal agency in deserving cases, keeping in view the practical field experience of the candidate. The watershed development team should be located as close as possible to the watershed project. At the same time, it must be ensured that the watershed development team should function in close collaboration with the team of experts at the district and state level. The expenses towards the salaries of the watershed development team members shall be charged from the administrative support to the project implementing agencies. District Watershed Development Unit will facilitate the training of the watershed development team members. Coordination with other schemes or projects. 11th Five-Year Plan offers an opportunity to converge and harmonize resources of different schemes and programs, especially those under Bharat Nirman and other flagship schemes with watershed development projects. Mandatory preparation of district level plans will be in a position to enable convergence and synergies at the grassroots level. The DPR may elaborate gaps to be filled or watershed activities to be taken up out of BRGF, NREGS, artificial groundwater recharging, renovation and repairs of tanks, water bodies, and any other available sources. Marketing and value addition is also possible under the revised Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee Act. Efforts should be made to converge all relevant schemes at project level.
Okay, what is wasteland? Land is considered degraded when its productivity is diminished. This type of land is that which is presently lying unused or which is not being used to its optimum potential due to some constraints. Land degradation caused mainly by agricultural takes many forms and has many causes. Degraded lands which can be brought under vegetative cover with a reasonable effort and which is currently underutilized, and land which is deteriorating for lack of appropriate water and soil management or on account of natural causes. Classification of wasteland is mainly based into two categories on the basis of National Wasteland Development Board classification, that is cultivable wasteland and uncultivable wasteland. Here, National Remote Sensing Agency estimates put wastelands at 16.21% of the total land area of the country. Of this, 16.74% is cultivable and rest 4.47% is unculturable. The wastelands are found maximum in Jammu and Kashmir, that is 60.10%. Total wasteland in India is 129.57. Culturable wasteland and unculturable wasteland, which is culturable wasteland, these are cultivable wasteland which are not being utilized to their full potential or being mismanaged due to various reasons such as state or private occupation or having being declared as notified forest area. But in unculturable wasteland, these are wasteland which are not available for cultivation. These include barren rocky lands, steep sloping areas and areas covered by snows or glaciers. Effects of land degradation. Actually, this is surface runoff and floods, soil erosion and desertification, loss of nutrients and land productivity, soil acidification, alkalinization, soil salinity, loss of biodiversity, long-term socio-economic impact on humans like migration. These all are the effects of land degradation. Next one is wastelands can be classified into three forms, that is easily reclaimable, reclaimable with some difficulty, reclaimable with extreme difficulty. Moves to easily reclaimable, that is easily reclaimable wastelands can be used for agriculture purposes. Wastelands can be reclaimed for agriculture by reducing the salt content, which can be done by leaching, etc. Gypsum, urea, potash and compost are added before planting crops in such areas. So thus, next is reclaimed with some difficulty. These wastelands can be utilized for agroforestry. Agroforestry involves putting land to multiple uses. Its main purpose is to have trees and crops inter and or under plan to form an integrated system of biological production within a certain area. Thus, agroforestry implies integration of trees with agricultural crops or livestock management simultaneously. Then last one is reclaimed with extreme difficulty. Wastelands that are reclaimed with extreme difficulty can be used for forestry or to recreate natural ecosystem. Attempts to grow trees in highly non-alkaline saline soils have been largely unsuccessful. Field experiments have shown that species like eucalyptus, prospe and acacia could not be grown in highly alkaline soil. Studies have shown that if tree seedlings are planted with a mixture of original soil, gypsum and manure, better growth can be achieved. Method of wasteland reclamation. There are various methods by which wastelands can be reclaimed. First one is afforestation. It means growing the forest over cultivable wasteland. Then reforestation. Reforestation, growing the forest again over the lands where they were existing and was destroyed due to fires, overgrazing and excessive cutting. Reforestation checks waterlogging, floods, soil erosion and increased productivity of land. Providing surface cover. The easiest way to protect the land surface from soil erosion is to leave crop residue on the land after harvesting. Mulching. Mulch is a layer of material applied to the surface of an area of soil. In this protective cover of organic matter and plants like stalks, cotton stalks, tobacco stalks, etc. are used which reduce evaporation, help in retaining soil moisture and reduce soil erosion. Changing ground topography on downhills. Here, running water erodes the hill soil and carries the soil along with it. This can be minimized by following alternation in ground topography. That is, first one is strip farming. Here, different kinds of crops are planted in alternate strip along the contour. Terracing. In this arrangement, the earth is shaped in the form of level terraces to hold soil and water. The terrace edges are planted with such plant species which anchor the soil. And next is contour ploughing. In this arrangement, the ploughing of land is done across the hill and not in up and down style. Then next is leaching. Here, in salt affected lands, the salinity can be minimized by leaching them with more water. Another is changing agriculture practices. Like mixed cropping, crop rotation and cropping of plants are adapted to improve soil fertility. So here changing agriculture practices is one of the important process. Next is ecological successions. This refers to the natural development or redevelopment of an ecosystem which help in reclaiming the minerally deficient soil of wastelands.
A case study of Jatropha plantation. Jatropha has a great ability to withstand hot weather with water-scarce low fertile soil. It has very promising scope for cultivation on wastelands, even in hot deserts. It also has an ability to withstand high salt concentration in soil. The tribal belt of Kumbhalgarh and Banswara are the leading Jatropha growing area because of the most suitable climates for its commercial plantation in these areas. Rajasthan is the leading state in Jatropha cultivation. Jatropha in the country is now being grown in about 4,97,881 hectares of area with a production potential around 25 million tons per year. About 90% of the Jatropha cultivation is in Rajasthan. Rajasthan government is promoting its production on wastelands. Recently, Rajasthan government has allotted 110 hectares of wastelands for Jatropha cultivation. Jatropha plants starts yielding third year after planting and yielding increases over the year. Society for Rural Initiatives for Promotion of Herbal is the major society for promoting Jatropha cultivation. Jatropha is the promising crop for Rajasthan as it has very benefits like wasteland reclamation and reforestation, soil preparation, income generation from various unusable areas, reducing increased demand for employment by providing opportunity for livelihood, etc. constraints in Jatropha cultivation perceived by farmers of Rajasthan. First one is lack of technical guidance and information. Second one is inadequate training facility for acquiring skills about its cultivation technology. And the third one is lack of suitable plantation schedule. And the fourth one is long gestation period of Jatropha. And the fifth one is adverse climatic and edaphic factors for the survival of the plants. And the sixth one is lack of knowledge about scientific cultivation of Jatropha. And the last one is lack of awareness of economic value of Jatropha seeds. When Jatropha seeds are crushed, the resulting Jatropha oil can be processed and produced high quality biofuel, biodiesel that can be used in the standard diesel car or further processed into jet fuel, while the residue can also be used as biomass feedstock to power electric plants used as fertilizer or the animal fodder. Second case study is the case study of Bangalore district in Karnataka. India is the second most populous country in the world. Its economy is agrarian in nature. Increasing demand for food, fodder, fuel and fiber has necessitated adoption of scientific measures for increasing land productivity and bringing more areas under cultivation or forest. However, land degradation due to desertification, soil salinity, water logging, floods, drought, excessive oil erosion due to deforestation, unscientific agriculture practices, etc., have resulted in the creation of vast sketches of wastelands and a decrease in per capita cultivation lands besides ecological imbalance. Nearly 53 MHA are wastelands and 22 MHA of land have problems of either salinity, alkalinity, soil erosion, water logging, shifting cultivation, or presently unused because of their undulating nature. Only 11% of India's geographic area is under effective tree cover. Forest degradation has increased by 14% over last 5 to 10 years. The land area prone to floods have doubled from 20 MHA to about 40 MHA in last 10 years. Awareness of this fact was resulted in the formation of the National Wasteland Development Board. Under the acts of National Land Use and Wasteland Development Council with the chairmanship of the Prime Minister of India, and sustainable and renewable land resource management. Various industries like biofuel industry, cosmetic industry, pharmaceutical industry, food industry, lubricant industry, etc. could use Jatropha.
Policies and schemes targeting wasteland development in India. Various organizations and institutions have taken initiatives to contribute to the development of wastelands in India, the beginning of which was in 1976 when the report of the National Commission on Indian Agriculture was published. The NCIA made the distinction between wastelands that needed to be reclaimed and those that needed to be conserved, put to permanent agricultural uses or afforested. Along with this, many suggestions were offered for the reclamation of various categories of wastelands, and also suggestions of actions that should be taken against the reoccurrence of land degradation, and provisions of subsidies to small and marginal farmers for reclaiming alkali affected lands. Investment promotion schemes. Investment promotion scheme is another scheme based on bold ideas and extensive coverage. The scheme aims at promoting development of non-forest wastelands on large scale through the involvement of financial institutions and corporate bodies, including user industries and other intending entrepreneurs. The intention is to put wastelands under sustainable use and ensure its enhanced productivity, thereby maintaining ecological conservation and ensure that the benefits of the scheme occurs sustainably to the rural poor in terms of expansion of employment and income levels. Schemes by Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperation. The Department of Agriculture and Cooperation has a number of schemes directly and indirectly connected with the development of wastelands. They are schemes of soil conservation in catchment of river valley project, which aims at controlling premature siltation of reservoirs through soil and water conservation measures, covering badly degraded lands on a watershed basis. Watersheds having high sediment production potentials are being currently covered in 418 watersheds. The impact on land productivity and soil moisture regime has been quite encouraging. Next one is integrated watershed management in catchment of flood-prone rivers. This is a centrally sponsored scheme. Its objective is to moderate the runoff by increasing the institute conservation of water and thereby reducing the flood hazards. Next is a reclamation of special problem areas and improvement of productivity. This is another centrally sponsored scheme launched during the 7th 5-year plan and is being continued in Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. The scheme aims at improving the physical conditions and productivity of alkali soils. The major components include assured irrigation, on-farm improvements such as land leveling, bounding, ploughing, community drainage systems, etc. Next is scheme of watershed management in shifting cultivation areas in northeastern India. This aims at total development of shifting cultivation areas on watershed basis. By increasing the Jamun cycle, it is 100% centrally assisted scheme spread over the northeastern states. Next is the National Watershed Development Program for rainfed areas. This aims at maximizing crop production systems through rainwater conservation on lands having agricultural production potentials. Next is the schemes by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. The improvement of degraded forest lands has been largely under the state sector. Nonetheless, private initiatives and people's participation have also revealed their increasing presence in the recent years. In 1994 to 1995, some international aid projects were also commissioned. The schemes by the Ministry of Environment and Forest are as below. Integrated afforestation and eco-development project covering about 60,000 hectares of afforestation annually. Next is the Fuelwood and Fodder project, which covers about 70,000 hectares annually. Non-timber forest scheme, which covers 20,000 hectares annually. Grant and aid scheme. It is to voluntary agencies for developing close relationship between forest officials and local communities. Aerial seeding scheme, which covers afforestation over 25,000 hectares annually. Eco Task Force. These are ex-servicemen who are deployed in remote and difficult areas to undertake a restoration of degraded ecosystems through afforestation, conservation, and water resource management techniques. The other schemes are a drought-prone area program, which under which degraded areas due to soil erosion, water and moisture stress, etc., get treated. This started way back in the 1973 and 74. The scheme is currently in operation in 27 blocks spread over 69 districts of 13 states. The funding is shared on 50-50 basis between the central and state governments. Desert development programs. The DDP was launched basically to restore the ecosystems of deserted areas affected by extreme temperature, poor rainfall, low humidity, and high wind velocity combined with dust storms and recurring droughts. The scheme was started in 1977 and 78 with special emphasis on the shelter belt plantation, pasture development, soil moisture conservation, and water resource development. This covers both hot desert areas for sand dunes stabilization and cold desert areas for vegetative propagation and moisture conservation. Next is the schemes by a planning commission. Hill Area Development Program. This is being implemented for certain designated hill areas with a view to ensure ecological, sustainable, socio-economic development of hilly areas. Next is the Western Ghats Development Program. It covers 163 taluks of Western Ghats which have been recognized as ecologically fragile and degraded. Eco-restoration, eco-development, and eco-conservation are the underlying objectives of the scheme. Next is the initiatives by NABARD in the area of development of wastelands. NABARD is playing an important role in promoting a few major wasteland development schemes. For nearly a decade, it has been providing refinance facilities for financial institutions against the loans advanced by them to individuals and groups of farmers, corporate bodies, user industries, etc., for undertaking wasteland development activities under farm forestry and agroforestry schemes. Besides tree plantation by individual farmers, a tie-up with wood-based industries also attract support of NABARD. Objectives of the Integrated Wasteland Development Program. They are developing waste lands and degraded lands on watershed basis, keeping in view the capability of land, site condition, and local needs. Promoting overall economic development and improving the socio-economic conditions of resource poor and disadvantaged sections inhabiting the program areas. Restoring ecological balance by harnessing, conserving, and developing natural resources, that is, land, water, vegetative cover, etc., encouraging village communities to undertake sustained community actions for the operation and maintenance of assets created and to further develop the potential of natural resources in the watershed and to adopt simple and easy and affordable technology solutions and institutional arrangements that make use of and build upon local technology knowledge and available materials. Employment generation, poverty alleviation, community empowerment and development of human and other economic resources of the village. These are the objectives of the Integrated Wasteland Development Program. The major activities undertaken under the schemes are institute soil and moisture conservation measures in terracing, bounding, trenching, vegetative barriers, and drainage line treatment. Planting and sowing of multi-purpose trees, shrubs, grasses, legumes, and pasture land development, encouraging natural regeneration, promotion of agroforest and horticulture, wood substitutions, and fuel wood conservation measures, awareness raising, training and extension, encouraging people's participation through community organizations and capacity building, drainage line systems by vegetative and engineering structures, development of small water harvesting structures, afforestation of degraded forest and non-forest wastelands, development of conservation of common property resources are the activities that are undertaken by the Integrated Wasteland Development Program. The strategies and suggestions put forward are that the government must view afforestation as a definite support to agriculture. Example, shelter belts, agroforests, mixed plantation, etc. People's involvement can be mobilized by undertaking the community structures and their needs. Sufficient funds should be earmarked and made available to finance projects aimed at integrated rural resource management, which are multidisciplinary in nature at every stage. Banks like NABARD should establish a separate line of credit for afforestation projects. Suitable action plans should be taken up for the integrated development of wastelands for ecological restoration and to meet essential needs of fuel, wood, fodder and timber for local communities. The Lab to Land program should seek to extensively popularize transfer of available technologies. All development projects like mining, road, irrigation, power, etc., which by their very nature either creates wasteland or degraded local environment, should earmark to a budget provision in the project estimate for reclaiming such wastelands or regenerating natural vegetation so damaged. While concluding, let's have an overview on the wastelands in India. India's total area is around 329 million hectares. Of this, the government classified 90 million hectares as wastelands. This is non-productive land, a definition that militates against the fact that about 40% of our 1.3 billion population depend on this land for livelihood. Wasteland management. What is wasteland management? In simple terms, wasteland management refers to the land that is used due to any obstructions is considered a wasteland. Land that can either be cultivable or non-cultivable falls under this category of wastelands. Managing these lands for proper use or reuse it for different purposes known as wasteland management. With the upcoming technologies and advanced procedures, we can contribute towards utilizing the land to its full potential. There are many factors that are responsible, along with technologies like climate, topography, soil properties, that make it suitable for the land to be used or reused. It is estimated that the biomass production in the wasteland is below 20%, due to which it is not considered suitable for use. Let's evaluate the impact of these schemes and policies which focus on land development, wasteland development in India. During the past few years, to access the impact created by programs in terms of both physical and social benefits, and the weaknesses in the implementation of the programs that might be diluted or hampering its full potential, the Ministry of Rural Development commissioned several evaluation studies in most of the states where the integrated wasteland development program is being implemented. As for the benefits that have occurred in the project areas, the evaluation studies reveal that overall productivity of the land has improved, water table has increased, vegetation covers has improved, irrigation and drinking water wells have been recharged, suggesting a better position in terms of the availability of water and improved natural resources based in the project areas as compared to non-project areas. Overall economic conditions of the project areas has improved significantly. The impact of droughts was of a much lower intensity in the drought affected areas where the watershed project has been successfully executed. Public demand for wasteland projects has increased significantly, indicating improved social awareness about the program. And out of migration of non-agricultural laborers has reduced. Uh, while summing up, we can say, as has been seen earlier due to financial constraints at the national levels, annual allocation to the programs are not uh, possible with the actual requirements and the problems at hand. Obviously, the government alone cannot tackle the problems on its own, and therefore there are an urgent need to bring in other important players into the picture for speedy and effective development of wastelands. Important among these other players who are also interested in involving themselves in wasteland development are corporate sectors, financial institutions, and external donors. The roles of these actors who support could be integrated into wasteland development strategies in the future are indicated here. Corporate sectors. It is worthwhile to consider giving the government land on lease to those corporate bodies that can improve its productivity and utilize it for commercial purposes. The private sector can come in big ways in this venture through a viable program of contract farming. Financial institutions. With the improvement of natural resources based off the project areas, the village communities would be requiring credit facilities for purchasing improved seeds, fertilizers, and other such inputs for judicious utilization of these developed resources. Further, to sustain the enhancement of productivity and increase production levels of project areas, it is necessary that sustainable credit facilities are available to the local communities to develop necessary uh, linkage to go on and safe storage of surplus production of and food processing facilities, etc. Necessary infrastructure and marketing networks are also needed to be developed. With the improving economic status of these people, the demand for consumer goods from outside would increase progressively, for which local commercial ventures need to be encouraged. For all these requirements, NABARD and other commercial banks can contribute in a big way. The Ministry of Rural Development has constituted a task force to examine the areas of support that can be obtained from corporate bodies, banks, and other financial institutions for watershed development. Other external donors. Traditionally, external assistance is available to several organizations in the country. for the provisions of social inputs like education, health, sanitation, livelihood activities, etc., particularly for the underprivileged. It is important that such assistance is channeled properly for comprehensive development of watershed areas. Thank you.